I'm joined now by Nader, a researcher on Afghanistan who previously worked with the Afghan government and civil society organisations in Afghanistan and the United Kingdom. Nader, welcome to ABC News. We are still receiving updates on the situation on the ground there in Kabul. What's your understanding of what's happening there at the moment?
At the moment, there is panic in the city of Kabul. Residents are really fearful that any time the Taliban would be coming and taking over the city. We have just received the news that the Taliban spokesperson said that they do not want to enter Kabul violently and that they are going to seek a political settlement before entering. So that is a little relief. But that's a very little relief compared to the problems that people are facing at the moment. Kabul is a very populated city, but also recently there has been a huge influx of internally displaced people and refugees inside the city. The city infrastructure, facilities, and the support system is too meager. It's too little to provide for all these people. In Australia, we talk of the lockdown. There is, COVID restrictions there. In open public places, but also in shops, people are cramming together to find shelter. So it's very, very horrific scenes that we see in Kabul at the moment. I have my family, part of my family in Kabul still, and I'm in touch with them, and I can't begin to imagine the problems that they're facing.
It's an incredibly desperate situation, the picture you're painting there, Jawad. In your view, you talk there of the reports that the Taliban is seeking a political negotiation to enter Kabul. What might that entail at this stage? Is there any clear idea of how that might proceed and whether that's likely to actually draw any results in terms of maintaining a non-violent presence there?
There is a lot of speculation, but to be honest, we are not privy to the behind the curtains negotiations that are taking place in Doha, in Qatar at the moment. But the overall speculation is that they would like to the Kabul government to surrender to the Taliban, and an interim government headed by the Taliban or to be installed, and that this will in return mean a 6 months of ceasefire throughout the country. And 6 months, it is hoped that the cornerstones, the infrastructure for a longer term government in Afghanistan will be discussed between Taliban and the other opposition groups. Well, at the moment, the opposition group is the government of Afghanistan, but the government is also in a state of panic, and there is no clear indication of what the next move by the government will be. Some say that...
Please continue.
Some say that, there are imminent resignations taking place. They say that President Ashraf Ghani might step down anytime soon. Some even thought that he would step down yesterday. So it's an extremely uncertain political and military situation in Afghanistan.
It is changing moment by moment. What do you expect would be a government led by the Taliban for the people of Afghanistan? For many, including myself, it was unimaginable only a week ago to say these things, but I fear that there will be a return of a repressive regime of Taliban in the same fashion that they ruled Afghanistan in 2000 and until 2001, 1996, 2001. There will be draconian laws in place in which the rights of individual freedoms of citizens, particularly the women's rights, will be utterly violated. Only a few days ago, the Taliban commanders who captured another major city, Faizabad of Badakhshan, they declared that the women in Afghanistan will have to adhere to the Islamic Sharia, and in the Talibani version of Islamic Sharia, women should not leave the house without a male companion. They should not enter into public life, and that they should always be satisfied with their inferior position in the society. As recently as 2 days ago, they stopped women students of Kabul, of Herat University, to attend the university. So it's only, I would say, a harbinger of extremely difficult days for women in Afghanistan, but also for any person who was fighting for dignity, who was promoting human rights in Afghanistan. It's going to be really, really difficult times ahead of them.
Certainly will. And it appears that, you know, the Taliban, they've moved so swiftly. There is little to no resistance there within Afghanistan. But also looking more broadly, what do you believe will be the significance of this situation in Afghanistan for the region and bordering nations as well?
Yes, unfortunately, it will have a knock-on effect on security and stability of region, and with that, the security and stability of the entire world. I recently saw a Taliban fighter's interview in which he said that their jihad and their holy war will not be confined to the borders of Afghanistan, and that there soon will be a time when they try to raise their flag in other parts of the world as well. So this means that not just the immediate region of Afghanistan, but to be honest, places as far as Australia will bear the brunt of this kind of Islamism that the Taliban are going to promote.
Well, we are also hearing about the military operation to evacuate people out of Afghanistan by Australia, the United Kingdom and the United States. How difficult is it likely for that operation to now go ahead safely?
It's difficult to say, but I think the priorities of Australian government, American and British governments is skewing the situation in Afghanistan. I would have loved their operation to have been named like rescuing the Afghan people or defending Afghanistan. Instead, they have opted for evacuating people, and this has negatively affected the morale of security forces, Afghan security forces, but also Afghan civilians, that only those who have been closely associated with these governments will be helped. Now, I don't say that helping them is a bad thing. I think they should be helped, but also other vulnerable population in Afghanistan, particularly human rights, women's rights defenders, minority rights defenders, they should also be helped. So I hope that whatever in future, immediate future, but as well as long-term future, the international community as a whole, but also Western countries in particular, will remain engaged with Afghanistan, provide support to the civilians, provide support to their allies, because frankly speaking, the Afghan people are not fighting an Afghan fight. It is a regional as well as international fight against terror groups. And if that battle is lost, there will be huge catastrophic implications for everyone around the world.
Well, we are already seeing huge numbers of people affected by what's been happening. More than 250,000 people displaced in the year alone, and of course civilian casualties. What do you think is required in order to see such a vast number of people getting the assistance, the support that they need at this particular time? It would require, I imagine, quite a significant global effort.
Indeed, and a global effort spearheaded by local entities, both government as well as non-government organizations who have had a track record